Hi, I'm Callie and welcome to Kapowski Reads and welcome to week 9 of 75 booked. I ended week 8 with a DNF. So I kind of want to recover from that by reading books I think I'm going to really love. I don't read a book unless I think I'm going to at least like it. Just think I want to set myself up for success, but I'm picking books I think I'm going to love. So first up is Perfection by Vincenzo Latronico. First of all, these editions, these are the Fitzcarraldo editions. I'm talking in multiples. I own one of this type of book, but I really love these. I just think they're so simplistic and they're just really pretty. I don't really like the colour generally. It's not a bold blue gal, but I think these are stunning. I'm actually already a decent way through this book, so I will let you know what it's about first because it's only about 100 pages. I will finish it today. This focuses on a millennial couple called Anna and Tom. They have moved to Berlin and they are graphic designers. They are millennials and they are chasing basically perfection. They are chasing the dream of living in Berlin and doing all of the things that people in Berlin do and basically living their best lives. But they find very quickly that perfection isn't real. Perfection isn't real. And they are chasing something that they are struggling really hard to achieve, and they're quite unhappy with their lives, and it is about them taking more and more steps to be happy with their lives. But they have to do some quite radical things to get there, and it's just a slice of life and I'm really enjoying it. I turned 40 recently and I'm having an absolute midlife crisis. I cut off 10 centimetres of hair. I can't style my new hair and I'm very upset about it, and I literally just cried before turning on the camera. So I feel like reading about millennials who are just unhappy right now feels about right. I'm really enjoying it so far though. Love the writing. I really am enjoying the characters. They feel very like people I would know. And, a little millennial experience in Berlin. What's not to love? I love Berlin. I went there one time, 2012, 2013. I went for a roller derby tournament called Track Queens. And it was amazing and I had just the best experience. I was literally there for like 5 days. 4 days? 5. Not a full week. Couldn't afford a full week. And I had the best time with the best people and it was amazing. And the other book I'm reading is I Must Have You by Joanna Novak. This is a coming of age book that takes place in 1999. And I learned about this book through Lauren Louise. Big book lady reads. Lauren Louise, charming, really cool Canadian YouTuber. She's amazing. Highly recommend. She has 2 gorgeous pets, a cat called Joni and a dog called Eileen. But this is a coming of age story set in the late 90s. All I know going in is this is a sort of slightly obsessive coming of age story, and I love a coming of age story, especially if it takes place in the period in which I was coming of age too. It doesn't have to be all about me, but it's nice sometimes to have a little camaraderie with my coming of age novels. And the main character is 13 when this takes place, and I was also the same age in 1999. So these are the 2 books I'm starting with, and I'm just really looking forward to them. I've been wanting to read this for a while, and my friend Jane actually recommended Perfection to me months ago, so I'm pretty delighted to be able to tell her I have read it. When I have read it, I'll be back with updates. I'm going to try not to cry about my hair anymore. I'm going to talk about the book, but give me 10 seconds to whinge about my hair. It's now at a position where it naturally wants to flick out. I don't know. We'll get there. I like it. It's just different. And I never cope well with change, even though I say I do. I'm a liar. I'm bad with change. But I'm not talking about my hair now. I have finished reading Perfection and I had a fun time with this. I gave it 3 stars, which doesn't sound like a great rating, but it really was. It was a fine enough book. I had a good enough time. This felt like a sort of stare at yourself in the mirror kind of book. I am half joking, half telling the truth to people when I'm like, I'm having a midlife crisis. I don't know if I am. I'm just having that sort of, I've turned 40 and I feel weird about everything. So this book was the right book for me to pick up at this time in my life, to see Anna and Tom as millennials going through the same kind of thing of their life isn't the way they thought it was going to be, and chasing something that may or may not exist. I don't think I'm chasing anything though. It was just two rudderless millennials living a sort of picture perfect life in Berlin in the 2000s. They had the right friends. They had these fun sounding careers. They had a beautiful home. They went to the right places, the right parties, the right galleries. They socialised in the right circles. Everything sounded perfect. Everything should have been perfect. They should have been happy, but Anna and Tom, they just were not. They wanted more, but it felt like they didn't know what they wanted. They seemed to sort of be chasing a dream, and every time they chased something, it turned out to just not be what they thought it was, and it would just take them further away from the happiness that they were looking for. I really liked the feeling of being listless, of being lost. When you know you should be happy, you know, like you've got great things going on, you should be happy. As a woman in my midlife crisis, I felt seen. I felt seen by this. Like, I felt it was pretty relatable. It was very slow paced. Like, it's really short, but it felt much longer than it was. Very little actually happened in the book. There was a moment where I thought, oh, we're hitting the meat of the story here. But nothing really came of that. It was over very quickly. And I feel like this was a very vibes book, which I think I talk about a lot. What I just mean is that it was a book where it was just about the reading experience. It was about enjoying the journey that we were going through in the book, but ultimately not a great deal went on. I would struggle to pick more than sort of 2 plot points from this book, and that's fine. I can read a book and just enjoy what it gave me in the moment. I do want to give you more of a description of the other books I'm reading though, because I've now made starts on them, so I feel like I don't remember how I described them in the intro of this video, but I'm fairly certain I described them poorly. So first is Invisible Monsters by, my bookmark's falling out. Actually, I have a bookmark which is, I've never been to Colchester Station. This is a train ticket from London Terminal S to Colchester Station. This was a secondhand book, so free used train ticket from July 2013. Invisible Monsters. This is the remixed edition, and I didn't really know what that meant until I started reading it. And when I started reading it, I went, oh my goodness, I love this. This focuses on an unnamed main character who has been in a tragic accident and basically has lost a decent amount of her face. She is off on escapades with a trans woman and a shady character. They get up to all of these antics, and it's a very fun kind of road trippy book. But the remix, what that means is that there's a bit at the beginning where the author himself is like, this is how I wanted the book to initially be published. I don't know a lot about Jack Palahnuik other than he wrote Fight Club. So I don't know if he's a silly goose, but I'm getting silly goose from him because the book is not linear. I'm not reading chapter 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm reading chapter 43, chapter 1, chapter 42, chapter 3. I'm flipping and flopping. So I don't feel I'm far into this book. Let me actually show you how far I am. Yeah. So I'm on page 72, but I'm not on page 72 because I've read book chapters from the end, but I don't know. It's a wild ride. It's so strange, and I am loving this. I'm also really enjoying my other book, I Must Have You. This takes place over a weekend, a Martin Luther King weekend, and it focuses on 3 different characters. We have Elliot, who is 13. She The biggest thing happening in her life right now is just she is in the depths of her eating disorder. We have Lisa, who was Elliot's best friend. She has been through recovery and she has now sort of moved her obsession, because an eating disorder, I had one for 18 years. Not fun. Don't recommend. It is an obsession. And she has sort of shifted that onto her boyfriend, who is 19. Like, let that be known. He is 19. This is weird. This is wrong. You're 19. Don't, no. And Anna, who is Elliot's mother, she also has her own demons. And she is embarking on some pretty reckless behaviours herself. I'm really liking this. It's set in 1999 and it feels contemporary. I'm not reading this going, it feels like they're trying to make it seem like 1999. No, it feels like it's 1999. It feels like it was written at the time. And there's lots of slang. Dialogue feels really true to the time period. And I think I just aged myself about 60 years by referring to the 90s as a time period. I'm having a good time. I'm really enjoying both of these books. So I will come back when I have more updates on them. Well, it looks like we found a weirdo, because Invisible Monsters is one of the strangest books I have read recently. But in a good way. I had a really good time. This was truly a disorienting read. Not just in the way that the reading process, because it's a remixed version, is that you're not reading chapters 1, 2, 3, you're reading chapters 42, 1, 45, 5. You're jumping around the book physically, but you're also jumping around the book mentally, and it does include a lot of jump too in the prose. The plot was non-linear. It kept jumping about through time periods, through flashbacks, through character perspectives, and all of that within one chapter. Of the characters, there was a main trio, and I suppose you could argue that the main character's best friend, pre-accident, was also quite a prominent character. She might not have featured that much, but she was referred to quite a lot throughout the book. So I would say that maybe there was 3.5 main characters. Page by page, their backstories were truly revealed. A true picture was painted. And I never saw any of the very many plot twists coming. I've seen Fight Club. Not all of Fight Club. I haven't seen the last 10. I think I fell asleep. I've seen up until they're all suited and booted. And then I've seen like the actual end. So I think there's maybe a 10-minute gap in my knowledge of Fight Club. But I did know from this author to expect a big old twist. And I got a big old twist. Then I got another big old twist. And another big old twist. I counted 5 massive twists in this book. There were possibly more. I stopped counting at 5. I was like, nope, we've got loads. I will not keep track. It felt like the literary equivalent of an improv class where everything is yes and, build on it, make it bigger, make it weirder. And that's what happened. The book did start with a huge, massive event and then takes you back to sort of let you know the build up to that. So we started with chaos. And then we went back to slightly less chaos and built our way back up to ultimate chaos. This book it was so fast paced. And as it went on, it just gathered speed. And it was so strange. And the instances that the characters were facing were just so wacky, but they made sense for the characters, for the book. It was like, yeah, that's bizarre, but yeah, why not? Why not? It was delightfully delirious is the best way I would say to describe this. And I would read more by the author. I really want to read more by the author as well. It was really fun. It was an enjoyable reading experience. And I think I really like this. So maybe I'll like more books by the author. I know they've got quite a lot, but this was so strange and I'm so here for it. I love a weird book. I have now finished reading I Must Have You. I don't remember if I gave any updates while I was reading it. This has been a bit of, you may have noticed from the video, it's been a week. It's been a lot's been happening, and I kind of dropped the ball with filming. So I apologise if I have not actually mentioned much about the books. I think I have, but that could have just been me planning stuff and not doing it. So I apologise. I have now finished my last book for this video, I Must Have You by Joanna Novak. And I love this book. First of all, I loved it. But I feel this is a Marmite book, and I can definitely see that. I can definitely see that some people may read this and go, I hate it. But I read it and went, oh, I loved it. This book takes place over a weekend, Martin Luther King weekend in 1999, and focuses on a trio of characters. The theme this week really was just books with trios. We have Elliot. She is 13. She definitely has an eating disorder, and she kind of coaches other girls at school in the ways of very harmful eating behaviours. But she doesn't acknowledge that that is what it is. She just views herself as being very disciplined. We have Lisa, who is Elliot's classmate and previous mentee, but she has gone to inpatient care and she has received treatment and she is on the mend. She's also dating a 19-year-old. Yeah, she's 14. That doesn't make that relationship any better. No. And there is Anna. Anna is Elliot's mother. She is a lecturer she's a poetry lecturer. She's also the teacher of the 19-year-old. She has a growing obsession on said 19-year-old as well. And she's also sharing a lot of the same traits as Elliot. The old apple tree theory. None of these characters were likeable. None of them. This was a character study. This was a slice of life. Follow these people around for a weekend. A lot of things are happening kind of book. I don't believe you were meant to like any of the characters. I didn't. But I found some of them to be like endearing. And at the very least, they were all interesting. I did see a lot of 13-year-old me in Elliot. Like, I was not a well child. I had an ED from 12, so like 1998. So there were a lot of, like, yeah, probably self-insertion, really. I was like, oh, I see me. And that was kind of heartbreaking. I don't think the book was meant to be heartbreaking, but I found it heartbreaking. I just wanted to give this ill kid, like a big ol' hug, like a forehead pat. And I did like the setting. It was set in the 90s and it felt like it was set in the 90s. I liked the sort of slang that was used. It didn't feel like a book that was written now, but set in the 90s. Felt like it was a contemporary book of the time, which is remarkably difficult, I find. So often I read books that are set in like the 90s and 2000s, which is what I want to read. And I feel like they don't seem authentic to the time. They don't feel authentic to my experience of the time. And I realised that I am not I'm not in charge of how people remember time periods. But all I can say is I remember a time period in a certain way. And sometimes I read a book and go, no, that feels wrong. Even though it's probably been really well researched, it just doesn't feel right. I know I'm wittering on. I know that probably doesn't make any sense. In a very strange way, it reminded me of the film Mermaids, which is an amazing film. I'm going to have to rewatch it. It stars Cher, Winona Ryder, Christina Ricci, and Bob Hoskins. There's a love interest in it that in my mind is Christian Slater, but I don't believe it is Christian Slater. I believe it's just floppy-haired, like age-appropriate boy in the 90s. It had the same vibe, and I think it's probably just because it was set during a similar period in weather. And for me, when I think of actors who embody the 90s, I'm thinking of Winona Ryder. always thinking of Winona Ryder. I love Winona Ryder. This was a very raw and a very vulnerable read. I really enjoyed it. The characters felt real. They were flawed. Oh, were they flawed. And despite 2/3 of the characters being children, it didn't shy away from the harsh realities, and it didn't shy away from fact. It didn't feel like this isn't a children's book, it isn't a young adult book. Even though the characters, 2/3 of them are young, it didn't feel like the book was talking to a younger audience. It felt like an adult book that just happened to have a couple of young characters. I do kind of wish it was longer. Like, it looks bigger than it is. It was only about 250 pages. I would have loved an extra, even just an extra day at the end of it, because it went, I think, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I'd have loved the Sunday, Monday, because we ended on quite an event, and I would really like to know what happened afterwards, because this was going to impact all of the characters, and I don't know. I just wanted to know what happened to them next. I hope they all got the help that they all definitely, I said that wrong, definitely needed. I hope so. I choose to believe that. I'm gonna. And so this week I was going to say I only read 2 books. 2 books in a week is fantastic. I read 2 books this week and I really liked both of them. And I recommend both of them. Obviously, trigger warnings galore for all of the books, really. But I had a great time. Hopefully next week is less chaotic. I can hopefully do a more coherent video, but I will make no promises. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.